them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after 22 years, Raymond Mark
The sickest NHL podcast. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here in the Sick Podcast Network. He is Pierre McGuire. I am Jimmy Murphy. Pierre, how are you, my friend?
Very well, James. How you doing?
Not too shabby. How was your weekend?
Good.
Very good.
A lot of football. People from Alabama real happy. People from Clemson not happy.
No.
People from South Carolina not happy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. People from Notre Dame not happy.
Well, we don't need to talk about that right now.
I'm surrounded by all these people. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And they all put their flags up in front of their house, which is great. I admire their passion so much. And then when they win, then when they lose, they're like,
yeah, they just hide. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? It is what it is. But as far as my Irish go up here, starting a season 0-2 in college football is tougher in the NFL, but it's going to be a tall task for them to.
Their schedule is ridiculous. I mean, that's a tough schedule. I don't care what anybody says. Until they get into a conference, they're going to play ridiculously tough schedules. That being said, I watched so much good hockey this weekend.
That's what I was going to transition to. So I know you're watching a lot of rookie tournaments, and obviously your son Ryan playing for the Wild in their tournament. It's just like it's great to see hockey back on, Pierre. And I'll tell you what, I was kind of bouncing around and watching some of the highlights of it, and got locked into a couple games. The intensity and the physicality of these games was really impressive.
So it's physical, it's fast, it's skillful. But what I did is today I did a break. You know how I always like to do my Monday breakdown.
Yeah.
So today what I realized is if you're a first round pick who's 18 or 19 and you're playing in these things, chances are you're not going to dominate enough to make fans happy or management happy. Because if you look at the guys that are doing most of the scoring or influencing the outcome of these games, they're 22 and 23.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I watched it all weekend, and Luke Hames in Toronto is 22, Jacob Quillen's 23, Ryan Teverberg's 23, Ryan Kerwin's 23, Ryan McGuire's 23. Like I go all these different where all these guys are influencing games and outcomes. They're all 22 or older, and we're not talking 24 or 25, but 22 and 23-year-old guys are so this is a lesson though that these teams can learn from, because this is great for these young players.
Right.
Like I watched a game the other day. Zev Bullion played in it. He's a first-round pick. And St. Louis had 5 first-round picks playing in it. So in that game, there were 8 first-round picks. 5 for one team, 3 for another.
Mm-hmm.
Caliber play was insane. It was really amazing. But you could see the young guys weren't driving the game the way the older guys were driving the game.
Well, before I say what I'm going to say, to echo on that, Pierre, and congratulations, by the way, to Ryan McGuire on making it to the big camp for the Minnesota Wild. Really excited for him. I wish him the best of luck. It's a great point by you, Pierre. And as you're saying that, it makes you think of that's why we're seeing so many of these college kids and these college free agents having much more success and getting more jobs, is because they're so further ahead in development, both physically and hockey-wise.
It's something we've talked about on the show, and you deserve a lot of credit for this, Jimmy. If you look at it, last spring in particular, I noticed this trend. Teams are going after older, bigger centermen.
Yep.
They're trying to copy now, it doesn't mean they're going to do it, but they're trying to implement the plan. And a lot of the guys are either starting in the American Hockey League as depth players or in the East Coast League as upper echelon players in the East Coast League. But that's how it's going. And you can look at the guys that left the University of Maine. Go look at the guys that left BU. Go look at the guys that left Northeastern. Go look at all these different hockey schools in particular. I'll just use them because they were a huge power conference last year. Look at the guys that left DU. It's amazing, but you see what the schools are doing with the undrafted players that are playing at these top Division I schools. And it's a new way of creating organizational depth at a very reduced financial price.
Exactly. And that's the big key right there. Even though the cap's rising, teams are always going to want to save cap space and money if they can. All right. Well, we've got a great guest coming up right now. We're going to get right into it. He's covered the Columbus Blue Jackets since their inception, and that is Aaron Portzline joining us here from The Athletic.
Hey, Aaron.
Portzline,
hey, guys. Let me get you centered here. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good. A lot going on in the off season over there, but I think one of the biggest topics that everybody's wondering about with the Columbus Blue Jackets, Aaron, would be what is the latest on Adam Fantilli and an extension?
Yeah, so I think, and no one has said this implicitly, they wanted to get something done. Obviously, before the season started, they wanted to talk anyways. I think they got the general sense, and a lot of players were seeing it with obviously some high-profile cases. There's a real push from the players here to drive these salaries up, and to not even pinpoint a salary number as a target, but a percentage of the cap as the number. And I think the sense with a lot of people is that we're going to get used to some different numbers here over the next 6 to 12 months. The other thing I think changed this for them is he's an RFA, obviously, so certainly not the pressure of a UFA. And that the aspect of the CBA kicking in the middle of September and him still being able to go 8 years if he wants it. I'm not sure he'll want to do it even if he puts another 30 goal season on the board. He may want to go short term again, but I think from his side they decided let's put up another 30 goal season. He's going to play with some really talented players, and then maybe you're even in a better negotiating standpoint next summer. And it doesn't hurt if you're an RFA and you're a 21-year-old 6'2" center with 2 30-goal seasons. Should he put that number up again? It's not a bad thing to make your team think about those offer sheets that can always dangle out there. And if you're going to do it on anybody, why would you not do it on a young power center? So why not? Why do it now? I mean, the club wanted to do it now. Why would you do it from Fantilli's perspective now? I don't think they're concerned. I don't think this means anything other than they just negotiate next summer.
That's such a smart thing, what you just said, Aaron, and thank you so much for joining us. Here's the other side of this. The players and the agents have done a really good job. Really good job. They have. But at some point, there's going to be people on the negotiating side for the ownership side. They're going to say, really? You're that good a player? I know you got the numbers. How many times have we played in the playoffs? How many playoff games have we played with you as our lead dog?
Yeah.
How come you're such a unicorn that we've never been in the playoffs? I'm not saying that this is a case with Fantilli. I'm just using this as a hypothetical because I think that soon managers are going to use that as a weapon against what's going on right now. And I'll tell you why. A lot of these GMs are being given internal caps by their owners.
Yeah. Right.
They are. They
For
are.
sure.
And they can say it, all the agents can say all they want. And the agents aren't wrong for doing it. But Aaron, you see how good they got a lot of good. You just said it. You're so spot on. They got a lot of really good young players there.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to pay everybody.
Yeah.
No way. No way.
Yeah. That's why they've held the line on certain things this summer. Honestly, they made small moves. They were in on who's the Noah Dobson, and then that got rich to the point where they were like, no way, just no way. Nothing against the player, but they've got their own guys that they've got to take care of.
Yeah, no, you're spot. See, Jimmy, this is my and we're friends with a lot of agents on this show, but I'm telling you, a lot of these owners are putting their GMs in boxes saying, no, just calm down.
The cap is growing to a point here where some small market teams are going to get uncomfortable pretty quick. There's still the floor, so you're not going to have that complete imbalance like it was when the Blue Jackets came into the league. I mean, there were nights the first year where I think the Blue Jackets payroll was $18.5 million, the whole team, right? And they would play the Red Wings or the Rangers at like 108, 112, and it was hilarious. They kind of gave them a game most nights, but the floor is going to keep it interesting. But I think there's going to be a lot of more teams thinking about the floor than there have been the last 5-6 years when things got stagnant.
Jimmy, didn't we talk about last Friday? We were talking about Aaron, people don't realize this. You look at Puckpedia, there's 32 teams in the league. There's 16 teams that are $4 million or more dollars under the cap.
Yeah.
And there's 7 teams that are double digits, 9 million to more under the cap. Like, think about that for a second. Half the teams in the league aren't even, they're 4 million or less.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you looked at this time last year, I think you would have seen probably less than 10 teams with more than 2 million.
There you go.
It was that tight.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying.
Aaron, talk to us about the goaltending situation. They go out the other day and you get Fedotov from Philly there. I'm just wondering, am I reading it wrong, or is the writing on the wall for Elvis to be on a new team soon, within a couple of months?
Yeah, I wouldn't say within a couple months. I think the writing's on the wall for Elvis, but I think that's more about Jet Greaves, honestly, than them claiming Ivan Fedotov. The Fedotov move, so they've been looking and wondering and worrying, frankly, about who was going to be their AHL goalie and their call-up guy for the inevitable injuries with Merzlikins or Greaves. And nobody wants to give up that goalie who doesn't need waivers, right? That's such a luxury to have in the 3 spot. Yeah. Nobody's given that player up. And so they looked at the Fedotov situation and thought, well, the cap hit is 3.25. The salary is only $775 because Philly's already paid a $2.5 million bonus. But maybe that cap hit will be enough of a deterrent for teams claiming him that will not assure them, but make it more likely that he clears waivers. I think he's going to clear waivers. I think we can say that too. Honestly, I think they let him sit on the market. I think everyone's known that Philly would have moved him for a long time. Yeah. I think Columbus also takes from the fact that he was on the market for so long that too is an indication that he'll clear waivers. There's not a big market for Fedotov. They want him for Cleveland. They think there's something there that maybe their goaltending coaches can work with, and maybe he can build back his game in the American Hockey League. Rather that happens, who knows? But the fourth down there is Sawchenko, which I don't think they believe is ready for NHL duty, even in an emergency. So they just needed a buffer there. And I think they start training camp with Greaves and Merzlikins on even footing. I think if Greaves is the better goalie in training camp, he's the starter on opening night, and they go from there. I don't think they have plans for one to be, 52 or 56 starts and the other one to be 25 or 30. I think it's going to be pretty wide open here with Greaves having a chance to take it.
Okay. Any Charlie Coyle or Miles Wood sightings yet?
Well, they're here, and I know the guys in the room are big Charlie Coyle fans, even though they hated him a few years ago, and he was in that series, the second round series, Columbus and Boston. Yes. The thing with Coyle that they love is the right shot. Like, they had a real hard time with righty faceoff guys last year, so he fills that void, and honestly slots in as the third line center. Probably pushes Cole Sillinger to the wing, either on the second or the third line. They have center depth in Columbus now that they have not, frankly, ever had, with Fantilli, Monahan, Coyle. Obviously Sillinger can play there. Jenner can play there. And Wood is purely they want some grease on the forecheck. They're done with the patty cake forecheck. They want some. They want to break some glass this year along the end boards a little bit. And, Wood has struggled here for a couple of years with injury. So I don't think that's a sure thing by any means. But they think he can bring a little bit of jam back there.
How about any updates on Chinikov, and if there's any bites out there? Has he gotten to any point where they were close, or is it just kind of they're going to say, all right, let's revisit this somewhere down the line in the season?
Guys, everything's great, right? Like, everybody loves everybody. Everything's great now. So probably 2 weeks ago, Dean Evison brought Chinikov into his office. Before that, I should say, good sign of the players who go to Europe in the offseason. Chinikov was the first guy back. Whether that was intended or not, that sends a message. I think it does. I think it was intended to. Evison brings him back into his office, and he has a conversation with him where he says, I played. I know frustration. I know how it can get to you. I'm not mad at you for going public. I don't care that you made a trade request. you're here, I'm here. I'm going to treat you just like I treated you last year. I'm going to treat you just like I treat any other player. And Chinakhov said, if I'm not going to play, I want to be traded. But if I'm here, I'm going to play my ass off for you. And they both said, we're good. Like,
Perfect.
Let's go. I think a couple things have to be considered here. At the start of the season last year, Chinakhov was on the first line with Monahan and Marchenko. And he may have been their best player the first month of the season, too, before he fell off and the injury took hold. So that's there. When he came back after missing 3 months, he was not a good player. And he has hinted before, not to me, the Columbus Dispatch wrote that he was considering a trade request, which is a fantastic ploy. And so he's gone there before. I don't know that anybody took this, frankly, all that seriously this time. And I think the biggest reason for that is if you just look at the situation here, if he has a good camp, he's going to end up playing with Monahan or Fantilli and with Marchenko and Kent Johnson on his off wing. That's a pretty good situation, and I'm not sure there are other teams that would give up much to get him and put him in that same situation. So maybe just zip the lip and play, and all that you want is actually right before you.
If he plays well, value.
That's really good intel. Really good. One of the things that's so tough whenever you talk about Columbus, obviously, is Johnny Gaudreau.
Yep.
Are the thoughts still there? Is the passion still there? The energy still there?
Yeah.
The remembrance of him?
Yeah. Last season at this very day, they had media day today. Yeah, there was a pall over everything. As much as people wanted to talk about hockey, it lingered, right? Of course it did. It was with them all season. The jersey's going to stay in the dressing room. They still speak openly about him. Meredith still lives in town here. Came to a bunch of games last year. I assume is going to do the same this year. There's a street up in one of the ritzy suburbs of Columbus that has like 4 Blue Jackets on. It's not called Wisteria Lane, but it could be Wisteria Lane. 4 Blue Jackets, the families live right there on the same street. They're together all the time. They've surrounded her. She's given them just an enormous amount of strength. I think they've tried to do the same for her. But yeah, the Paul isn't here. Players weren't choking over words today because it was still fresh last year, obviously. There's a sense of optimism and it going forward. But I think he's in the. Sean Monahan even said it today. He thinks about him every day, literally every morning when he gets up.
Yep.
It's still very much there. It will always be there.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Aaron. Thank you.
Yeah, I remember that. I spoke to Don Waddell a couple weeks back, and he said the same thing. I mean, he's always going to be in their memories and their heart. They use it as motivation.
Right.
So good stuff. Listen, I know you got to hop on NHL Network in a bit. We know you're the rock star that you are, my friend. But it was great for you to join us here. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you down the line, Aaron. All right.
All right. Pleasure, guys. Pierre, I'll be seeing more of you this year.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
That's great.
Thanks, Aaron.
Guys.
All right. Aaron Portzline, The Athletic, join us here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. And Pierre, not to kind of stay in a downtrodden state here, but we did lose some people over the weekend, Pierre, like 3 in the hockey world. It started with former NHLPA executive director Bob Goodenow passed away, and then former Rangers goalie Eddie Jockman passed away as well, and then young Orca Wiesblatt, am I pronouncing the name right? Wiesblatt, excuse me, passed away from a car accident, Pierre. Just tragic. I mean, we start with Wiesblatt. I mean, just anytime you see someone so young like that, it's just, I know you're a parent like me. As a parent, you can't imagine what those parents are going
I
through.
can't. And it's so sad. Here's a young man that played for the Calgary Hitmen. Here's a young man that played a year of professional hockey and thrived. He was just signed by the Allen Americans in the East Coast Hockey League. They were so excited to have him. Stephen Martinson's the coach there. I couldn't, his 2 brothers are involved with the Milwaukee Admirals, Nashville's farm team. It's a terrible story. It's tragic. that was heartbreaking. When I heard about that today, I couldn't believe it. Eddie Jockman lived to 86. You know, I had a chance to meet him when I was younger in my career. I had so much respect for the way he carried himself, you know, as a professional, as a gentleman. He was always well-dressed. He always looked good. He and Harry Howell, the late Harry Howell, former teammates, they always looked so dashing and debonair. They're always shirt and ties, and they always looked really good. I always remember that about Eddie and about Harry. I didn't know that Eddie was, you know, I knew he was getting older. I didn't know that he was, you know, sick. So I felt terrible to hear that news. The one that was shocking to me was Bobby Goodnow. Bobby Goodnow is a tough son of a gun. Let me tell you right now, he's a physically tough guy. And he was a really good hockey player at Harvard. He and Brian Burke were business partners together. People don't know that. They forget.
I remember you told me
you
that.
know, Berkey and Bob Goodnow were partners. They ran an agency and they did really well. You know, Brett Hall was one of their early clients. I early in my career, I had issues with Bob. I did. And Bob called me up one day and he says, "Why don't you come to my office?" So I did. I don't think he thought I was going to show up in Toronto at the PA. And I did. I showed up and it got heated. You know, it was close to boiling over. And physically. And eventually it got settled. And the last time I saw Bob, I was in Houghton, Michigan, and we went to breakfast together. And it was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And I had after that one visit to his office in Toronto, we sorted a lot of things out. There was misunderstanding on both sides, but it was good. It worked out well. And every other time I saw him was great. And then, like I said, the last time I saw him was up in Houghton, and it was fantastic. We had just had a phenomenal visit. Really good.
I know when people talk about his legacy and, you know, and his position in hockey, they're going to say, well, look at how many work stoppages there were under him. But Pierre, you know, that's his job, is to get the best deal he can for the players. And unfortunately, sometimes that's what happens in these negotiations. But, you know, for those, you probably can explain a little better, and I wouldn't mind if you could. For those that don't understand what the union went through before him, and I'm looking more specifically at the Alan Eagleson situation, and how much players have been taken advantage both by owners and by their own union reps, you know, the higher ups I'm talking about. Goodnow did a lot for them, considering what they had gone through, right?
Yeah, if you want to make an omelet, you got to break some eggs. You know, and that was kind of like what Bob had to do. You know, some people, ownership detested him, but he didn't work for the owners. He worked for the players, and he really did work for the players. He cared about the players. He did. You know, you could talk to so many from that era when he took over. He cared about the players. So there were labor stoppages because he wasn't going to get pushed around. You know, he was a Harvard hockey player that was also an agent, and he knew the business. He knew the numbers, and he knew the business. You know, there were some things where he might have got it wrong, but he wasn't doing it on purpose. He was doing it because he believed in it. You know, sometimes your beliefs are stronger than what's real. And so I respected that part of it. And like I said, we had some issues early, but, you know, after that one meeting in his office, it was really good after that. I'm just being totally transparent here. To me, hockey's changed. And, you know, we've had the lockouts and we've had the work stoppages, whatever you want to call them. I think players are in a better position. And I want to salute what Glenn Healy and the NHLPA just accomplished. Marty Walsh deserves a lot of credit. Ronnie Hainsey deserves a lot of credit. I'm sure Pat Flatley was involved somehow, some way. But Glenn Healy, this is something, and I've worked with Glenn. I know Glenn really well.
I'm glad you bring up Glenn.
What he did for the players, the former players, in terms of healthcare benefits long-term, I can't say enough good things about that. That never should have even been in question, but it was. And Glenn did a magnificent job with everybody at the PA and the ownership and Commissioner Bettman and Daly for agreeing that this is something that has to happen. And it did happen last week. And so hats off to those guys. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. It really mattered.
And I know, really, you know, maybe not enough people know out there what Glenn Healy's done for NHL alumni, Pierre. I mean, he's been going at this for a while. Even during his days in broadcasting, he was still put in a ton of time into that. So I'm glad you brought
agree.
him up. He's one of those guys that's behind the scenes that doesn't get enough credit when it comes to the union stuff. But when it comes to some of the stuff that people, we know now because it's more out there what these players go through physically and mentally after they retire. And a lot of these guys weren't making the money they are today. So hats off to Glenn Healy is right.
No, I'm really impressed by what he was able to do. And again, I'm not complaining at all, but something like this needs to happen for the coaches.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, something like this needs, especially most of my generation, the guys are older and have passed on, but there's still some, I was really young when I started, I was 28. So there's still some guys left, but they're out of work. They're not working.
Right.
And, they put a lot of years. I think of a friend of mine that I won 2 cups with, Barry Smith. Nobody won more cups from 1990 to 2009 than Barry Smith. Nobody did.
Yeah.
Nobody did. And so, I have a lot of respect for guys like that, hockey lifers. And a lot of those coaches were hockey lifers that didn't make anywhere near what players are making.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to tell you something. This is going to blow people away. The Pittsburgh Penguins won the Stanley Cup in 1991.
Mm-hmm.
The coach was making $120,000 a year. The next year, the Pittsburgh Penguins won the Stanley Cup. The coach made $125,000.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that compared to now.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And we're talking about 2 of the best coaches that have ever worked in this game, Badger Bob Johnson and Scotty Bowman.
Jeez. Yeah, they should do a little more for coaches. You're right, Pierre. I'm glad you brought that up. Listen, before we get to our sponsors and into the Q&A, Pierre, I just want to quickly mention, of course, the Canadiens had their golf tournament today. A lot different. What's the word I'm looking for? Vibe. Vibe's a good word. Vibe's the word. None of this we want to be in the mix. They seem to be embracing the increased expectations around the team, Pierre.
Well, I think Demidov is,
oh my gosh,
pretty spectacular. I mean, you watch a little of his prospect performance, and
Yep.
he's really special. So as long as he stays healthy, you got a game breaker right there, and that's hard to find. And they got one that's ready at 19 or 20. I mean, it's that's pretty impressive. Montreal's good. They're still. I still think they'll be proactive on the trade market. They just got to stay healthy. Really important they stay healthy. And Fowler's the real deal. They're now what we've talked about on the eye test for a long time. Now the fans have had a chance to see him play, and they know this guy's for real. He's really good.
Yep. And I like to hear the reports coming out too. Rene Louvois spoke about Jeff Gorton and Kent Hughes potentially being extended. Seeing some reports coming out today. I mean, I think that's a no-brainer, but
I hope that if there were issues on questions on that, then I'd be worried about where the Molson family was paying attention to their news. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. It's amazing.
Now maybe those guys might say, no, we're not. We'll go somewhere else.
Yeah,
but I don't think they're going anywhere else. And again, you got Marty Lapointe. You got Nicky Bobroff. You got a built-in infrastructure of really smart hockey people there. I don't know why you would even. They're not. They're going to get done. That's not going to be an issue.
I can't believe it's been, just over what they hired Gorton in November of 2021, and then Hughes came in February there. It just flew, Pierre, and think of all they've accomplished in that short time.
Well, they got better. So they got better. They got better in a hurry. So that was really important. They started making inroads, and you could see. So that was important. And what they did that was really smart is they identified the need to rebuild the organization through the draft.
Mm-hmm.
They did. A lot of teams bury their head in the sand.
Yeah.
But remember who the author was of the letter in New York when they had to rebuild the team.
Yeah. There you go.
Gordon.
Yeah.
So
and they stuck to that vision too.
They did. They did. And now, for whatever reason, Jeff gets replaced, John Davidson gets replaced, and they strayed a little bit from the plan. And we'll see if the Rangers do anything this year. We'll see.
Yep. Good stuff. All right. Let us tell you, of course, we're going to be at the Friendship 4 as we told you before, we were excited. By the way, I loved having Stevie Thornton on last
Dude,
week.
it was great the other day.
That was a great interview. It really was. I had some BU friends reach out and say they really enjoyed it.
Yeah, Stevie was great.
It was good stuff. So we're going to be over there with him and our whole Belfast Giants crew and Cara Group Travel, Sarah Stanton at the Friendship Floor at the end of November. And then again for the women's at the end of December into the new year. Really excited for that. Definitely as we get closer, we'll get more guests on about that. And we will confirm our details hopefully soon as to where you can find us if you are heading over to Dublin and Belfast. We'll definitely be at the Harry Lemon. We'll definitely be at the Heart when we get to Belfast. But we're trying to get into the Merchant Hotel as well. So we will see what we can do for that, and we will keep you posted on that. And, of course, I hope everyone was responsibly betting this week, but I hope you also won. And I hope you did so at Betway because you can still go all the way with Betway and bet the beauties with Betway. And even on your first bet, if you are a new account holder, even on your first bet, if you lose, you'll still get up to $200 credit. So go right to that QR code right in front of you there to sign up. Or if you're not watching, go to the details section on the website when you can and create your account there. This offer is not available in Ontario. Terms and conditions apply. You must be 18 plus and always bet responsibly. And Pierre, I didn't even realize just so much going on right now, right? At this time of year. There's 2 Monday night games tonight, huh?
One's at 7, and then Oakland or Las Vegas. See, I'm dating myself.
I know.
Vegas.
Hey, well, at least you didn't make the mistake I made last week with Washington.
No, we got that straightened out, though. That was quick. That's normal. But, yeah, so the late game, the early game, Tampa, we'll see what Tampa's got going on tonight, hopefully with Houston.
Yeah.
Phil Murphy, who does the hockey games with us at the ECAC event, he does the sidelines for the international feed for ESPN. So I was talking to Phil the other day.
Oh, wow. Cool.
He's down in Houston for that game with Tampa, so that'd be good. Yeah. He gives me all my football tips.
A little upset special to everyone out there. I like the aforementioned Vegas Raiders to pull the upset over the Chargers tonight. I'm a big fan of their new running back, Ashland Jonte. He can move here. I like this kid a lot. So maybe check that out when you're over at Betway and see what you can get for some value there. All right, let's get to our Q&A. What do we got? Juice _031017. Pierre, who's the Habs prospect that stood out the most during the 2 prospect showcase games this weekend? I mean, Demidov, but other than Demidov.
They were physical. They had a bunch of guys that were physical, so I thought that was really good. Fowler, I thought, Fowler was good. So there were a bunch of kids that were good. I don't want to put one over the other. I thought there was physicality. I thought there was toughness. I thought, Demidov was head and shoulders above everybody else, but Fowler was really good. So again, the one guy that I think could be a little better is Reinbacher, but I think that part of that is, injury, just getting back up to speed. But I wasn't really disappointed in anybody. I thought, people look at the score. Did we win? Did we lose?
Yeah.
When I watch these games, I'm watching for compete, character, coachability, and guys that can make plays under duress.
Yep.
Why? So, yeah.
Well, you know what? If we can, Shane, Renaissance Resistor had something because this was a player I wanted to ask Pierre about, but I didn't see his question. There you go. Hey guys,
he's a nasty piece of business.
Wow.
But he's a tough kid. Yeah. Does he have an upside? Yeah, he's got a chance to play for sure. Throwback type of player, but the answer is yes.
Like it. All right, next question. Gabriel Lamb, will Bill Guerin consider trading Coyle? And was the reported contract true? Gabe, there's just been so much stuff flying around on this. I can tell you that the reported contract offer, the numbers from what I heard were true. But other than that, there's so many different stories that I've been able to verify. So I don't really want to comment on it too much. All I can say is we know for a fact that they didn't, that Coyle did not submit a list for trades at all. So that it hasn't gotten to that point right now. And it's just kind of a wait and see. That's what I'm hearing.
I just, it's unfortunate this got in the public eye. I know that everybody's anxious to get the story. I think Minnesota's handled it well. I think Coyle's probably handled it as well as he could. It's a tough story.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully they'll get everything sorted out. But we'll see.
All right. Next question. Franco, what is Sam Renzel's ceiling offensively this season and moving?
Yeah,
forward?
Sam had a really good game the other day against St. Louis. He didn't play yesterday against Minnesota. He had a sterling assist in the game against St. Louis, but his offensive upside is huge. But I think it looks like Renzel and Vlasic will play together as a tandem in Chicago. That might be a little much early for Sam, but I think he can handle it. But that'll be eventually a lead pipe cinch top tandem in the league eventually. Not right away, but eventually. So his offensive upside is huge, but so is his defensive upside. He's a really good player.
All right, next question. Ian Lewis, what do you make of the lack of offensive production in both Habs prospect games? Is this a sign of the focus on depth players, or did they come up short?
No, because Michael Hayes isn't. Guys like that can't be there.
Because they're college, yeah.
Sam Harris can't be there. They're in college, so there are guys missing that would be there. So you got to remember that when you're evaluating too. Those games are hard. I think maybe you weren't listening before or just jumped on, but I said to Jimmy, if you do the tail of the tape, most of the guys that are dominating these events are 22 and 23. And, I watched Luke Hames, 22, Jacob Quillen, 23, Ryan Teverberg, 23, Ryan Kerwin, 23. They all have one thing in common. They all played at least 3 years of college hockey. In Kerwin's case, he played 4, 3 at Penn State and 1 at Arizona State. I'm watching the St. Louis games with Minnesota. Older guys were dominating a little bit more. Anybody over 21 was good. Guys below 20 were having a hard time. So a lot of it's the age stuff too.
All right, next question. Mike, I'd love to know where you both think the Habs will take a step forward and where they might take a step back this season.
I worry a little bit about the second center position. I always have. So I worry about them loading up on the top line with Caulfield, Suzuki, and Slavkovsky. And if they load up on that line, do they have enough supplemental offense? And if they do have enough supplemental offense, it'll probably be directed because of Demidov. Mm-hmm. So it's just, you got to pay attention to that. But no, there's a lot to like with this team. I think Lane Hudson takes another step forward. I think Dobson coming in helps him a ton. Matheson's not going to have nearly as much duress on him because he's not going to be involved with the power play. At least I don't think he will be. I think the Canadiens go up. My only concern is, again, if the second center doesn't get solved and Kirby can't do it, then teams load up on the other guys, and then a lot of pressure on Demidov, a lot of pressure.
And look, I think they can handle it, Pierre, but I would say the only potential for a setback would be they're not sneaking up on anyone this year. But
right.
That bullseye on them now is
right. It's a great point. It's very fair. You're not being mean. You're being fair. I think Bolduc is a guy that is really important. Zachary Bolduc. If he can play with the same energy, the physicality that he brought in St. Louis and do that in Montreal without getting over emotional and taking penalties, he could be a huge difference maker for them in a positive way.
I think that trade's going to end up working both ways, Pierre. I really do. That's one of those good trades for each team,
Logan should be good.
All right, next question. Chris Blue Shirts. Hi, guys. Pierre, your thoughts on what's missing for the Rangers? Above average at center. Mika, JT, Adam, Vinny. Average at D. Elite in nets. Elite coaching. I think another scoring winger is missing.
I think that and depth on defense. I'm worried about it with them. You start losing players, and Adam Fox is a guy we like on this show. His agent is a very good friend of the show's, Matt Cater. But Adam can't have the same kind of years he had last year.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Cannot.
Yeah. This is a big year.
There's good stuff for Rangers. The coaching staff's elite. It's as good as any coaching staff in the league, especially. See, David's really good. David Quinn's a top assistant. I don't know if David is an elite head, but he's a top assistant. And Joe Sacco is an outstanding coach. And we all know what Mike can do, Sullivan. So, no, I think the coaching staff's really good. Forwards are good. There's more than enough depth there. I hope Lafreniere can have a good start to the year. Yeah, I really do. But I worry about the depth on D there. I really do.
I'm with Pierre on that. All right, next question. Marco Larebe, a big potential setback for the Habs is on the PK. They lost Savard, Dvorak, and Armia. Who will take the draws on the left side? You don't want Suzuki killing more to keep his TOI down.
Well, Marco's spot on about Suzuki. You don't want him to.
Yep.
They'll have to figure that out. I mean, there's no question. They'll have to figure that out. Jake's obviously going to get a ton of face-off play, Jake Evans. They will miss Dvorak at face-offs. There's no question. I don't know what they do with Owen Beck. I don't know if they play Newhook at center. You know, I have no idea. Like, this is stuff that has it. What about Florian Jacki? Like, they're going to have to figure all this stuff out here. That's why they have training camp. I can't wait. Camp starts for most teams on Thursday, and then it's not too long after they're playing. They're probably, most of these teams are playing Saturday night, you know, preseason games. So it's going to be, and I know they're not all going to play top lineups until the end, but these games matter for a lot of the kids. I'll tell you that right now. Like, Jacki's camp is huge for Montreal. He's had a real good, I don't know how the best way to describe it except to say indoctrination when he was in Laval last year. Jacki's got to have a big.
Well, if you want to get excited about Jack, I highly suggest going back and find the interview we did with Pascal Vincent over the summer here a few weeks back. Definitely check it out because he really raved about him. So,
True.
All right, next question. Jeff Conde, do you boys think the Sens win a top 3 spot in the division breakout year for Pinto?
I'm biased towards Pinto. I think Pinto's undervalued. I think he's really good, and I think he could start to get going offensively. If not, he's going to be fine. He can influence the outcome of a game by penalty kill, winning faceoffs, being physical, playing against the other team's top lines. So it could, but I do think they're a team that's going to be pushing hard for a top 3. Ottawa. Yeah. The biggest concern I have for Ottawa is whether they have enough depth on the right side of their defense. It's a big issue. Travis Hamonic moved on. He's in Detroit right now. Nick Jensen's got a hurt, lower body. He had a couple surgeries on his hips. So that's a big problem. I worry about the depth on the right side of their defense. But outside of that, that team is pretty well stacked up. They're good to go.
All right, next question. Randy Workman, does Cowan make the Leafs this season?
So that's a good one. Obviously, they're going to give him as much time as they can. So he's going to get at least 10 games. I think eventually he does. I do. I think eventually he does. But my biggest thing is who's playing, and it's not just me, it's everybody, who's playing right wing with Nyes and Matthews. And it sounds like they're starting with Max Domi. And Max, I was going to say with Max Domi. They're going to start with Max. So we'll see.
All right. Next question. Juice. Pierre, during your time scouting, who was a player that you absolutely loved during the draft process, that just didn't work out when they got to the NHL level?
Well, I thought Mike Sillinger was a really good player. And Mike ended up playing for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know if he ever got the numbers that I thought eventually he would get. Tyler Wright was another one. I like the kids. I like the spunky, hard kids from the West. I really did. I spent a lot of time out there on the prairie and up into the Rockies. So those were a couple that they had both had really good careers, but I thought they would both do better in terms of numbers. Probably Daryl Sador. I was a big Daryl Sador guy. I like Daryl. And, he played with Scotty Niedermayer out there in Kamloops. Those guys were they were good. They were really good. Sid did some really good things over the course of his career. I don't know if he ever got to the level, he never got to Niedermayer's level, which a lot of people thought he would.
All right, next question. Ian Lewis, do you believe Joe Veleno has a good chance of grabbing the 3C chair? How does he stack up against Kapanen?
He's going to have to play it out. Those guys are battling for a job.
Camp's going to be really competitive.
Yeah, I know, but that's what you want. That's why they're so excited. Those guys are, that's the dirty little secret. You get younger guys that come in that not too many people know a lot about, and all of a sudden, this guy might take my job.
Mm-hmm.
If you go watch Greg Cronin's post-game press conference yesterday and hear some of the things he said about drafted players and non-drafted players, it's pretty eye-opening. And it shows you how competitive, and just doing little things matters a lot.
All right, next question. Franco, what do you think of Atus Koivu It's too bad we can't see him at the rookie showdown event.
Yeah, no, this would have been a valuable thing for a player like that. So my obviously bias is because of the relationship with the father and the respect I have for the father and the time that I spent with the dad in Montreal. Hopefully he can turn into being a really good depth player for Montreal. I don't think he's a top 6 guy. He could eventually because he might be a late bloomer, but I see him more as being a bottom 6 guy that's going to have a role to play. And if he can do that, I think he becomes a good player, but we'll see.
All right, next question. Marco Lorebe, which management team is under more pressure going into the season, the Wings or the Sabres? That's a good question.
Yeah, really good question. They're both under duress, but I can't see the tolerance in Detroit going much further if they're not a legitimate candidate for a playoff spot. People are getting angry there.
Don't forget Centennial season going on.
There's a lot of stuff going on there. Yeah.
By the way, those jerseys, I don't know if you saw them, Pierre. They were great. The new Centennial jerseys. Great job.
Yeah, so that's good. I like them. I think the league's done a really nice job. Steve Mayer and everybody at the league, all these people that are the professionals of doing this stuff is great, but you have a hard time convincing me that the Penguin sweater isn't beautiful. That Canadian sweater is beautiful. You have a hard time.
I think Canadian is the best one.
Yeah,
that's. My Boston friends will hate me for saying that. I'm going to get hell on my new Bruins podcast, Bruins Vibes.
No, the Bruins, the Spoke B is beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
All the original 6.
They're beautiful. The Ranger sweater's unique. Like, they're all good. Like, Mike Richter having Lady Liberty on his mask, it's beautiful. Like, it's all this stuff is amazing. Yeah. But as a kid that grew up in Montreal cheering for the best team in hockey, you're going to have a hard time selling me that any jersey better than that one.
And they're really, I mean, I know there's been a few times in the past few years, and sorry to sidetrack here, but there's been a few times where they've changed a bit. They've altered. They had some of these alters. But overall, out of any team, the Canadiens have just been like, we don't need to change. We have the best unis going. Why are we going to change?
It's like like maybe I'm biased because I saw it so much, but the Pittsburgh sweater and the pant combination, it's just, it's Pittsburgh. It's Pittsburgh.
Yeah. It is the black and gold.
Yeah, it's Pittsburgh, and I'm so pumped that I get to be around them again now. It's really exciting for me. I'm pumped.
Good. All right, next question. Gabriel Lamb, do you think good segue there? Do you think the Crosby rumors can be a distraction for the Penguins? I think so. I think it's no matter how much of a professional you are, you're a human being. I think it's gonna weigh on them for a bit.
Depends how they start.
Yeah.
If they start like they started last year, which was not good, I think it becomes an issue early. But if they start well and they, Dan Muse gets them going, the new coach who's never been a head coach in the NHL, if he gets them going, and you can do it. I mean, I can tell you the first 20 games I was a head coach, we had the 3rd best record in the NHL because you're emotional and you get your guys into the emotion of being part of changing something. If he can do that, then I don't know. Then maybe Sid catches fire and the team catches fire and they have a lot of fun and they become like Montreal was last year, the second half of the season. Whoever would have thought, Jimmy, with the start the Canadiens had last year, that we would be so enthusiastic about the Montreal Canadiens going into this season. Just go back to the start of last year.
Oh, yeah.
They were terrible.
Yeah.
Like they couldn't play in the neutral zone. They couldn't play in their own zone. They couldn't do anything with faceoffs. They were a bad team. There
were fans, and they're going to deny it now, but there were fans calling for Marty St. Louis' job. I remember it clear as day.
I do with Tony Marinaro. I do all the post-game shows in Montreal, and I will again this year. And I'm just telling you right now, people wanted him out.
Yep. So look where we are now. All right, next question. Randy Workman. What's up, Randy? Do rough contract negotiations affect a player's relationship with the team after?
It can. It can for sure. That's why you can't make it personal. And back in the day, a lot of it was personal. Now it's more numbers oriented. It's more technical. So maybe guys don't take it as personal, but back in the day when the numbers weren't as pronounced, it became personal.
All right, next question. Juice _031017. How much pressure is there on the Canucks to make the playoffs this upcoming season?
I think so. Well, especially on management, like Jimmy Rutherford.
Yeah, that's another management team I think they're focused on there. Like,
No. Well, look it's a great hockey
That's
market.
yeah.
Vancouver's an amazing hockey market. It is.
Yeah.
You know, Jimmy, I can tell you, like I coach games in Old Pacific Coliseum, and that place could rock. It was, and Pat Quinn and Ricky Lee, they built those. And Ronnie DeLorme, they built those teams to be really nasty. They were big, they were fast, they were nasty in their own end, like they were tough. Vancouver's a great hockey town. Yeah, there's pressure there.
Oh yeah.
There's pressure there.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Marco Lorebe, are we about to hit a true pressure point with Verbeek and McTavish?
Yeah, for sure. For sure, Marco. I don't know what Jimmy has to say, but Marco, we talked about this maybe 10 days ago, Jimmy, before we went full time, 5 days a week. And I always use training camp as a departure point. Once you get past that, so they're up against it now. Like camp starts for most of the teams on Thursday. So they're up against it. Now they should be on the phone all the time, and they should hide all their egos and just get to work and get a deal done for the kid.
All right, next question. Ian Lewis, it feels like the top 4 in the division are almost preordained. If you had to choose, who's going to be the big surprise in the Atlantic or the East that disrupts the betting odds? Columbus.
I would say Columbus. I would agree with Columbus. Detroit.
In a positive way.
Yeah, Columbus and Detroit. Todd McClellan's a really good coach.
I know.
He is. He's a really good coach. I think Sandine Pellica can make a difference there. I don't think he's as good as Lane Hudson, but there are characteristics of his game that are similar. And I don't think Montreal would have made the playoffs last year if they didn't have Lane Hudson. So a guy like that can help you. Now, it's not always been Detroit's thing to rush guys into the league, but I think they have no other way to go but put this kid in the lineup.
I'm just so worried about Gibson's health. If he's healthy, they've got a real legit shot. But hey, you could say that about a lot of teams, right? I mean, it's just part of the game. But
what happens to like Jonathan Quick's? We like him, amazing. He's going to be a legitimate Hall of Fame candidate, no question. But how much game does he have left at his age? Yeah. He's hurt a lot. So what happens if Shesterkin goes down in New York?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of what ifs with anyone. I know.
Yeah, every team's got this.
I think they're just missing one more guy in their top 6, Pierre. That's Detroit I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Another center would be nice.
I agree.
All right, that's it for our questions here on the Eye Test today. I want to thank our good friend Aaron Portzline, The Athletic, for joining us here. Thanks, Shane, working the boards up in Montreal. And thank you to all of you for your questions and to everyone listening and watching. Pierre, watching some football tonight?
Mm-hmm.
I will as well. Enjoy your night, my friend. And everyone else out there, enjoy your night as well. Training camp is a couple days away. Let's go. We'll talk to you tomorrow here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.